Hey, what's up, everybody? I'm Joey Dots here on the Daddy podcast, and today I'm here with Will Quaye from Scalp Nation UK. What's up, Will?
How you doing, Joey? Thanks for having us.
Hey, you are my first person I've had from London, and I'm really happy to have you on here.
Feel privileged, man.
Well, let's get
Wicked.
into it. So, did you grow up in London? Where'd you grow up?
So, yeah, technically, just outside of London. We're about 20 minutes just outside of London in a county called Essex. So I was born and bred in Essex, which is
In
just
Essex.
outside. Yeah.
I like Russell Brand. I know he's a little controversial, whatever, but I saw something he said. I think it was about Essex. He said Essex, London, or in England, Essex is like the New Jersey of the U.S. Does that sound about right? Is that similar?
Maybe I don't know what the New Jersey of the US is, but I know it's near New York. So, but yeah, no. Well, where Russell Brand grew up, I'm about 10 minutes from that. So
Okay, then he probably was talking about Essex.
yeah,
I don't know. I'm in Delaware, so I'm about 40 minutes from Philadelphia, and then New Jersey's about 20 minutes away.
Sweet. I failed geography, man, so it means nothing to me.
Have you ever been to the U.S.?
I've been to Vegas
Okay.
years ago, probably about 12 years ago. I might be coming this year, maybe. We'll see. But
Okay.
yeah, a few things cooking in the background, but yeah, we'll see. We'll see. But yeah, other than that,
Okay.
I've heard Vegas is I don't know, is it a true representation of the US? I'm not sure. It's a bit of a
It's hot. It's where everyone's vacationing, right? But in regards to, are there homeless people and random crackheads in every city? Yes.
yeah. Sweet.
So I see you got married back in December. Do you have any kids?
Two. Yeah, we've got two kids. Well, I say kids. One of them's a teenager now. He's 16. I've got a daughter, who's 15. Yeah.
16. Wow. How old are you?
Are we sharing this information?
Yeah.
Nah, it's cool. Yeah, 37. I'm 37.
37. Okay. So you had them
Yeah, man.
right when you like in your early 20s.
21. Yeah, getting out of the
Wow.
way. Yeah.
That's it's tough to raise a kid in your early 20s. Did you have a lot of issues? Was it hard for you?
Yeah, do you know what it is? It's even growing up now with the kids their age now. So obviously my son he plays rugby, which didn't really go to plan yesterday, which I'll touch on in a minute. But obviously when you go into like you know your sports and stuff like that, the parents are usually a little bit older. So when we had the kids younger, obviously you know you're starting out in your careers and whatever you're doing. You know, you're building up, you get, you know, buying your first house or getting into your early stages of property and stuff like that. Money can be a bit tight. So yeah, we had them sort of struggles when the kids were young. But it's just a decision we made. I mean, I don't think there's a right or wrong way of you know uh, this path of life, but we'll get to the end goal in the end. But it's just our route. But yeah.
Yeah, no, you're right. My mom had me when she was 16. You know, it is a
Yeah,
little more challenging when you're younger, right?
yeah, man. Yeah, you got
Now,
kids?
yeah, I have two kids. My son's 3, and then my daughter just turned 5 months.
Oh, so you got your hands full then?
Yeah, it's nonstop. As soon as I get home, dude, it's I can't relax until it's bedtime, pretty much. It's just
Yeah.
chaos. My son's super hyper as well.
Does he sleep?
He does sleep. I'm lucky with that, but I mean, while he's awake, he's awake. There's no chilling. There's no relaxing or anything like that.
Yeah.
If I'm trying to go to the bathroom, he'll find me.
Yeah, he burning them calories just chasing after him then.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Cool, man.
Um, so growing up in England, what was that like? I mean, I only see movies and stuff. I don't really know.
Yeah, I mean, for me, sweet, like chill. Like I had a really, really good childhood. Like no issues there. I mean, me as a person, as a child, I was a lot different to what I am now. Um,
What do you mean by
but
that?
uh,
Were you a
well,
bad
you know.
kid?
I wasn't bad, but I wasn't good. I wasn't like a naughty kid. I wouldn't go around stealing things and causing trouble in that sense. But I had a little bit of an aggressive sort of streak in me. But I think that was more down to the fact of obviously where I grew up back then, and even I say back then, wasn't even that long ago, but I was a real minority sort of, in school and stuff like that. And I felt maybe, I mean, again, this is all, in my head maybe, but I felt like I had to almost prove myself a lot of the time. And I would do that with, aggression. But I'm not.
So are you saying like people mess with you because you're black?
I don't know whether that was fully the case, but maybe that was in my head, because I was always like one of the smaller kids. I was different from everyone else. I was probably like 2 or 3 black kids in the whole school. No one ever outwardly, but no one ever outwardly called me on it in school as such. But I felt, as soon as I went to secondary school, we called it secondary school in the UK, like I was about 11 or 12. There was one incident that happened to me when I was a kid, and I'll talk about it now. It was like a 5th year in the school. He kicked me down the stairs, and I remember it vividly because when he kicked me, his sole of his shoe was flapping, like it wasn't glued in properly. So I remember it vividly. And he kicked me down the stairs, and I fell on a bunch of people and fell flat on my ass, and everyone was laughing. And ever since that day, it just triggered something in me. So anytime someone if I felt like there was an ounce of me, trying to make me look silly in front of people, I would just snap. And I was like that growing up until I found combat sports and boxing and going to the gym. And since I started finding all that, I calmed right down. And I'm the complete opposite now. I'm a real chilled out guy, and I don't really tend to get into any sort of trouble these days.
That's good. I'm sorry that happened to you, but I know what it's like too to kind of get a little bit bullied and get picked on. And I had a late Gershberg, so I was a smaller kid in the beginning until about 9th or 10th grade. And but he kicked you down the steps and his shoes flapping. So
Oh, it
shoes
was embarrassing, man. But I was like 11. He was like 14, 15. And you know what it's like when you're growing up, the older kids want to pick on the little kids. But then I thought that is the last time anyone's picking on me. And I sort of went the opposite way, like overly cautious of anything happening. So, yeah. But I would say probably like my wife, obviously I've been with my wife. We've been like side by side since about 11 or 12 years old, right? And
for real?
Yeah.
Wow.
Wow. Don't get me wrong, we've had our differences growing up, but pretty much, since really early. So she could she's probably one of the only people I speak to nowadays that can really vouch for what I was like when I was a kid. If you used to speak to her, she'd be like, yeah. Do you know what I mean? Yeah.
But it makes sense. What you're saying makes sense. I mean, you get picked on and you're like, fuck this. I'm not going to allow people to mess with me anymore. So I'm going to take some, boxing or martial arts or whatever, jujitsu, wrestling, whatever. So you could be prepared, and it also builds up your confidence.
Yeah. Well, do you know what? It was even before that. So when I got into the boxing and the Muay Thai and stuff like that, it actually made me less aggressive, if that makes sense. So other than being in the gym, that's when you turned it on when you're in the gym. When I was outside the gym, complete opposite. Like I would be in situations where, it was getting a little bit fiery, and I'd rather talk myself out of the situation than get involved with someone, because I started to, feel like, you got things you care about and stuff like that, and you start to question like whether it's worth it. So like when you're in the gym, because it gives you a different mindset. I mean, I know you train yourself, so you'd understand. It's like, the ego's left at the door, right? So you go in the gym and you might be sparring with a 15-year-old and he'll turn you over, but it's in the gym and that's what it is. Do you know what I mean? So it kind of made me just complete opposite, just chilled me out. And that's why I still continue to, go to the gym just to get this right up here. It's like therapy.
Definitely a stress reliever, 100%. I mean, getting
Mm.
punched in the face or getting choked out will humble you. So
Yeah.
and make you not really want to do things outside of the gym because you're like, I could just get my anxiety relief from doing this with other people, in a safe environment.
Yeah. And do you know what it is as well? Like people say, like, like the ones that, oh yeah, I love to have a fight. I love this, I love that. I'm like, no, you don't. I went, like, think of this, right? You might love to have a fight if you're beating on someone because it makes you feel good, right? But imagine it is the opposite and like 10 guys were stamping on your head. Would you love it then? You wouldn't, would you? You'd hate it.
Mm-mm.
So you don't love it. Do you know what I mean? But then when you go to the gym, it's like you say, all that ego stuff dropped, and I've met so many good people and made so many good connections and, from the gym. So it's, yeah, I love it.
Good, good. I want to go back to what you said. So, when I asked you earlier, I said, "How old are your kids?" And you told me one of them 16. So I'm like, okay. So how old is he? Because you don't look that old. You're 37, and so you're telling me you've been with. I was under the assumption I was just from talking to a lot of people when there's a big age gap when you have a kid in your early 20s and then you had another kid. I thought maybe it was a different baby mama, but you're saying you've actually been with the same person since you were about 11 or 12.
Yeah. Yeah, man.
How did that happen? Where'd you meet?
We actually met, so we lived in the same area.
Okay.
It's not very romantic how we how we met. We actually met outside an off license, and she was just like with her mates. I was with my mates. We was just kicking a football up against the wall as you do when you sort of just street raking as you are as a kid. And yeah, she contacted me the next day, and we was just inseparable. Like she never went to my school at that point. It was only like 2 or 3 years later she ended up coming to my school, and yeah, it's just like you kind of just know, don't you? I mean, again, touching on, we've had our differences sort of growing up before we had kids, and there would be times where we'd sort of, I might go up my way and she should go her way, but we sort of found each other again, and yeah.
Wow.
Still here today, mate. Yeah, which is quite rare, isn't it? Because I don't think
Yeah.
you hear it too often. Yeah.
Super rare, super rare. And you said one of your sons, we were texting earlier, one of your sons broke their collarbone?
Yeah. So he plays rugby, right? And
Tough
it was
sport.
it's a very tough sport, great sport. I was never into it as a kid. Like I didn't really know about rugby too much, and he's got into it, and we're like a rugby family now. And unfortunately, yeah, it didn't quite go to plan yesterday, and he got taken down, fell on his shoulder, and snapped his collarbone, like his what they call it, the clavicle or something.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, which wasn't great. So it was a bit of a hectic day yesterday, like sort of in A&E and getting him sorted. Yeah.
Did they get them all patched up and everything?
So he's literally walking around with a sling now. The doctor said when it comes to the clavicle, they don't tend to want to do surgery unless it's sort of sticking out of the skin.
Okay.
So they're going to just let it sort of set itself and let it heal itself. We've got like a fracture clinic giving us a call in the week to let us know, but hopefully there's no surgery. But I'm just praying it heals all right. But he took it
Yeah.
like a champ. He wasn't crying. Do you know what I mean? He even said to me until the X-ray came out. He said to me, "Oh, Dad, I think it's just a muscle injury." Like, I'm like, "Oh, I don't know about that." Do you know what I mean? But yeah, he's in good spirits. He's in good spirits.
Now, is this for school? Is this a school team sport or is it
No. This
a
is
league?
outside of school. Yeah. He's in a league. Yeah. Top
Okay.
tier. Yeah.
And so you have two kids?
Two. Yeah. Got a daughter as well.
Both boys? Oh, you have a daughter. Okay.
Daughter. Yeah. She's going to be 15 actually next week.
And do they get along?
Yeah. We're quite a tight family. We've got like a messaging group, and we're always sticking messages in there. And like they're getting to the age now that they're really like our best mates. We'll have dinner and we'll just sit and chat after dinner and talk about our days and stuff. And it's getting more and more like that as they're getting older, which is cool.
I love that. I'm happy to
Mm,
hear that they that it's not fighting because it could be the opposite.
it
15-year-old
could be.
girls,
Yeah.
you know, sometimes they get in their moods, I'll say,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
it can get
You
bad.
know.
It can get
Yeah,
bad.
we still get them. We get the moods. We do get the moods. Yeah.
Well, it sounds like you're doing the right thing as a dad. So, what did you do before you became an SMP artist? You're obviously a very, very talented artist. I've watched your work. You're a fucking beast, Will. And but what did you do before you did scalp micropigmentation?
I started out sort of electromechanical engineering when I left school. Done an apprenticeship doing that. And then I went into welding and fabricating. So I was making like railings, gates, staircases, balconies, anything architectural really. And then I went into still with the welding. I went into the sort of the design sort of aspect of it all, like 2D, 3D, AutoCAD, SolidWorks, like 3D rendering, like literally like designing everything we made. I would do that. So I'd go and survey all the jobs and price them and anything to do with that, really. Yeah.
So, did you go to school for that? For like the AutoCAD's a tough piece of software to use for those people who don't know. I mean, there's a lot going on in AutoCAD.
Yeah, man. Yeah. So I had to go. Yeah. So I went to college. So I done my electromechanical engineering for 2 years. Then I done the CAD graphics and design for 2 years, and then I done my welding and fabricating for another 3 years. So yeah,
Holy shit!
yeah.
So, what's your degree in? What's your degree in?
So it's not actually a degree; it's like a HNC. So I've got a HNC in
Like
welding
a
and fabricating.
certificate?
Yeah, in
Okay.
engineering. Sorry, and then the I don't know if it works differently in the UK to America, but the welding and fabricating is like a level 3. Can't remember the governing body, but yeah, it's like a level 3 in welding and fabricating. It's pretty much what they offer here. Is like the standard sort of thing.
I
Yeah.
don't think those jobs are gonna be taken by robots anytime soon. At least, you know, you can always
Well,
fall back on that, right?
I don't know, man. Like there's robots welded out there. There's robots welded out there. I don't know what. Oh, do you know what? I was talking about this to a client the other day, like AI, because he's actually he's one of the guys that are developing all the software for AI. He's the one putting us all out of a job, and he was saying about well, we was just discussing like what jobs are safe, like once it really gets in. And for me, sports looks like one of the key areas that are going to be pretty safe because
Yeah, yeah, like entertainment sports, professional sports, they're probably not
yeah,
going away.
yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
that's less than
SMP,
1% of the population.
yeah. What about SMP? What's your views on that?
That's a tough one. I think they're gonna develop something, you know, obviously better guns, better machines.
Yeah.
Um, are they gonna develop a cap that you put on someone's head and, you know, 10,000 needles stab you at the same time? I don't know. I don't think it would work either. I think there's always going to be a need for a human intervention or a human doing it, a human hand with a human touch.
Yeah.
At least in my lifetime, I'm 36, by the way.
Oh,
I think at least in our lifetime, I don't see SMP going away, you know, at least not in the next 10, 20 years. But
yeah,
who
yeah.
knows? I mean, yeah,
You never know, man. Yeah, you
I
don't.
have I have a legitimate concern about what will our kids do for work in the next 20, 30 years, to be
Mm,
honest.
mm,
You know, what the hell is my 3-year-old son going to do in 20, 30 years for money? Because the AI, the robots, you know, all this stuff it's only going to get better, right? And the more it improves, the more jobs it's going to take away. And they say it might create new jobs, but what? An entertainer in the metaverse? Like I just don't
yeah.
know.
That's the thing, isn't it? I mean, they were saying like you can get like a robot, right, for about 50 grand. Yeah. That packs all the boxes, right? And this robot's going to last 20 years, right? So when you figure it out, like big multi-corporation companies, they're going to just want to buy them, aren't they? Like rather than employ people to stack shelves and pack boxes, they're just going to go, right, we'll just get 10 robots and that's us for 20 years. We know what we spent. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, they don't get tired.
Yeah, and they don't call in sick and turn up late and all that
Yeah.
shit.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I
It's
mean?
scary, dude. It really
Yeah,
is.
yeah.
I just don't know how this is going to play out. I really don't. But so you were doing MIG and TIG welding?
MIG, TIG, and arc, like MMA. Yeah, didn't do any
And
gas welding, but yeah.
I mean, that's hard shit. For people who don't know, welding is a very hard job, and it's you gotta be smart. I mean, you have to have a lot of strength as well. Uh, you have to be somewhat of an artist too. So why are you no longer doing welding? Why'd you get an SMP?
Why did I get into SMP? So it wasn't just one reason. Like we had a few sort of roads leading me down this way, and I think it sort of happened like before I knew it was going to happen. So just to give you a bit of background, right? My mum and dad, um, pretty much all my family, they're from like a caring background, so that mental health and disability and like care homes, right? And I remember saying, like, when I was a kid, or not to anyone particular, but just saying to myself, like, when I grow up, I'm never doing that. Like, I'm never doing that, because I used to just watch like my mum and dad. Like my mum would come in from work at like 2 o'clock in the afternoon or 5 o'clock in the evening, and then my dad would go to work, or vice versa. And then my mum would come in at 7 in the morning, and they were like passing ships, and they looked like they were just working so I'd never see each other. And I was like, I'm never doing that. And like, even when like we was at school, we used to get picked up from school and get dropped off at the nursing home. And when I was a kid, because a lot of them had sort of learning disabilities and mental issues and, mental health, it was quite a scary place to be dropped off as like a little kid, not knowing, but obviously I got used to it. The reason I'm saying this is because it leads on to where I'm going with it. But although I didn't want to sort of be in that sort of industry, it felt like people always sort of gravitated towards me. Like, so I'd be in a hospital, say for example, my uncle would be banged up in hospital, would go and visit my uncle. People would always come up to me and like say, "Oh, excuse me, can you help me with this, or can you help me with that?" And I'll be like, "Oh, I don't work here, but maybe I sort of just give off that aura of like, I don't mind helping." And it would happen to me like a lot. And I never really sort of took much notice of it. But then that builds into what I'm about to say. So as that was going on, unfortunately, a few years ago, my dad got quite sick. He kind of he had sort of stage 4 cancer, right? And he's recovered now. He's in remission stuff now. So which was a real blessing, because obviously, as you know, stage 4 is classed as sort of terminal. But he was on like a course of what they call immunology, and he was like not a test dummy, but he was one of the first to sort of try this out, and thankfully, like it worked out. But during the whole process, I feel like my mum possibly took on a lot more than what she might have thought, and she started to lose her hair. Whether it was that, stress brought it on, or it could have just been, ladies go through the change, like menopause, stuff like that. It could have been that, or it could have been a multiple of things that contributed to that, but I noticed it. So, I'm looking at things to try and help my mum, combat her hair loss. And at the same time, I mean, my wife, in case people don't know already, she does like permanent makeup. And she was at a permanent makeup show, like a conference, up in Nottingham, in the UK. And she see people doing SMP. So she phoned me up and said, "Will, I've seen like these guys here doing SMP. They're tattooing hair on people's heads." And I went, "Oh, that's mad," because as I was looking at things for my mum, I kind of stumbled across this, but didn't take too much notice of it. But then as she said it as well, it kind of made me think a little bit more. And I was like, "Oh, really?" So then she was sending me all information about it. And then she come home and then she was telling me about it. And then I thought, you know what? I've been doing what I've been doing for, at the time, it would have been just under 20 years, like anywhere between
Wow.
15. Yeah. So I've been what I was doing. So I thought, you know what, let's give this a go. She come back, I booked up my training course, and then within a month, I'm just flying. Like, and if anyone knows me, or if I do something, it has to be like I'm doing it. I'm not just gonna dip my toe in. I'm gonna do it, and then if it don't work out, it don't work out. I'm just gonna chuck everything at it. So that's what I did. Just chucked everything at it, and yeah.
So you went all in. You saw scalp micropigmentation. You decided, look, I'm going all in. I'm not going to do it this half-ass. If I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it right.
Yeah, you just gotta, like live and breathe it. Like I was literally every chance I could get, I was practicing or getting clients, and I didn't because I see this quite a lot. People sort of get trained up in SMP, and then they might sideline it or leave it for even a week or 2 weeks or a month or 3 months and go, oh yeah, I'm going to pick that up now. No, like literally, as soon as I got back from my training course, boom, I was on it like straight away, and then I was doing it week in, week out, week in, week out, because that's the only way. There's no quick route to success and getting your craft down to a T. You just got to put the hours in. Like you just got to keep going, and that's what I did. Yeah.
I agree. And anybody who's listening to this, new SMP artist, he's right. You can't really cheat to start and get good at scalp micropigmentation. You got to put lots and lots of hours and a lot of practice. So was your mom did she end up being a guinea pig for you?
She did.
My mom
She did,
too.
yeah. Did she? Oh, really?
Yeah, just a
Yeah, cool.
little bit on the part, just a little bit on the part.
Yeah. Done 2 sessions. She could do with another one, but you know what mums are like. Oh, don't worry. When you get time, I'm like, Mum, I'm never going to have time. Just get here and get it done. Do you know what I mean? But yeah.
So you said a lot of stuff there. So you're a little kid, you're getting dropped off at nursing home, and you're seeing like crazy old people with dementia, just being wild, and you're just kind of
Yeah.
wandering around.
Yeah. It was a crazy place to be as a young child, but eventually I got used to it and it was just the norm. But at the time I was like, I'm not doing this. And the reason I mention that is because obviously I'm not saying like people that get SMP are crazy, right? But what it is they obviously need help, as in they're struggling with something, right? They've got a condition or, losing their hair and stuff like that. So this, for me, doing SMP is my way of helping people. I didn't know what form it was going to come out. So obviously my mum, she helps people, older age people or people with disabilities and stuff like that. This was my way of helping. So I think you do need, I think you need a reason why, you need a why to what you do, and you can't just go, I'm just going to do that. It happened for a reason, and I'm passionate about what I do. So and that's always been the core of what I do, and I think that's why. I think you can tell the guys, you've only got to look at a piece of work or someone's work, and whether they've like left everything in the. I always use this term, left everything in the ring. You know the ones that are slapdash and just trying to get paid.
Get their payment. Yep. Get their payment.
Yeah.
Just do the least amount of sessions and the least amount of work as possible.
Yeah.
They usually don't turn out very well.
Oh man, and the thing is, right? There's 2 ways of looking at it. At the end of the day, you're doing SMP. It's a business. You're running a business. I get that, but your core fundamentals have to be to help this person to do the best job you can. And the business and everything will come out for it. I'm not one of these that are going to say, oh no, it's not about the money. Of course, it's got to be a business, but you have to want to help these people, and that's it. And then you'll succeed. Like, you get the people that phone up and, they'll say to you, oh, do you do training courses? How much can you earn? I'm like, I don't even answer them. Do you know what I mean? I don't even answer them.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah.
They're just trying to see, is this a quick money grab? Can I just make a bunch of money and be, a shitty SMP artist, whatever the case might be.
Yeah.
And I recommend people, if you do think you're going to make money quick and be an SMP artist and you just try to do the least amount of work, you might get paid, but it's going to end up biting you because you're probably going to jack up someone's head. And then you could get into some legal disputes or whatever the case might be, right?
Yeah, it's going to be short-lived. I mean, like I say, if you want to build something, good foundations and, to last this is what you're going to do for a lifetime, then you got to start off the right way. You know what I mean? And the cream will always rise to the top, man.
Oh yeah. So who did you end up training with first? So you decide, hey, my mom's hair's starting to fall out. I want to help her. I'm doing welding, but I've been doing this for a long time. I want to try something new.
Yeah.
And so who did you research and who'd you go to first?
So I trained originally with my fundamentals with, do you know Paul Clark and Simon Lane?
Yep. Yep.
Brownman Clinic. Yeah. So I trained with those guys right at the beginning. So I'd done my fundamentals with them. And then as soon as I'd done that, I'm going to say maybe 3-4 months went past. And, as you do, you're sort of looking on Instagram, looking on socials, YouTube, websites, this, that, and that. I'm doing the research as in how a client would do a research. So I'm looking at, what I like the look of. Like I'm looking at SMP, like what, if I was getting this done, what would I be looking at? So I was just researching a load of people. And one that's really, really stuck out to me was Mark at Creative Scalps. So I just kept going back to it. I was like, man, this guy is like I was just in awe, like, you know what I mean? Just like,
He's so good.
quality.
Mark Allen is so freaking good.
He's good, man. He's really good. And so I was just like, shit, I'm just going to ring him up and ask him if I can come down. So I did. I rang him up and said, look, would you be all right if I come down and sort of shadowed you for a couple of days? And that's what we did. I come down, shadowed him for a couple of days, done that, learned a lot, and then went off on my merry way and carried on doing clients.
So what I want to know first is how long did you go between learning SMP to, I'm assuming now you're a full-time SMP artist, before you stopped doing welding and just doing SMP? Was it a year, 2 years?
The truth is I've actually still got a welding business. So I've got a little welding business and I've got my SMP clinic as well. So
Oh wow.
I've got my hands full. But I mean, when I say welding business, I'm not physically welding up panels myself. I've got a couple of guys that do bits for me. So I'm just sort of getting the work in and I'll leave them to it, sort of thing.
Okay, so you're actually running your own like welding company, is what you're saying?
Yeah.
You're not actually in there.
No. I mean, I haven't. Yeah, I probably haven't welded up a panel in about 3 years, to be honest. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Good for you
Yeah,
for keeping that going. I mean, if you already had the connections, it's making money.
Yeah, it's one of them, and to be honest with you, I enjoy welding. I think I just enjoy creating stuff. Like I enjoy creating something from nothing, just to see it and go, oh shit, how cool's that? Do you know what I mean?
It is fun. It's a lot more fun than doing mundane, boring tasks. I could tell you that. The same shit day in, day out.
Yeah.
I used to work at a bank before I did SMP, and it's
Did ya?
this is a lot more fun.
Yeah. What investment banking, something like that, or?
I worked at JP Morgan. I was like a project
Oh,
manager.
Shit.
Yeah.
You're playing that dance. That's a big company.
Yeah, it was a big change. It was a very big change. But I'm happy that I did it. So you teamed up. So you train with Brandwood. Paul Clark's a legend.
Yeah.
And you get with Mark and he's Creative Scalps. How did you end up getting on the Creative Scalps team? Because I saw you're on the Creative Scalps team. How'd you do that?
Yeah. So I done my sort of shadow days with Mark. I went off, carried on in my clinic, learning the trade, and then I don't know exactly how many months went by, but not a great deal of time, but a little bit of time went past, and I don't know. Do you know a guy called Sammy? He works with Mark as well, Sammy Dean.
Yeah, I've seen him in the videos.
Yeah, he's another, trust me, the guy is sick. He's another sick artist, right? And at the time, Sammy was The Apprentice, right? And he actually went off on paternity leave. He had a baby, so he was off for a few weeks with the baby. And Mark rang me and said, Will, Sammy's gone on paternity leave. I've got clients. Would you be up for coming in and helping me out with some clients? And I was like, shit, like Mark's ringing me up. Like, you know what I
Mark
mean?
Allen, one of the best SMP artists in the world, is contacting me to take some
Yeah.
clients. Fuck yeah, you're gonna do it.
Do you know what I mean? So I was like, shit, you know, like, so I said to Claire, like, you know, fucking hell, Mark wants me to come down and, you know, do some clients. I was like, yeah, defo, like, you know, and at the time I thought it was only going to be just while Samuel was on paternity leave. So I went down, done a few, I can remember to this day, the exact person who I done first. I remember his name and everything. And I just jumped in the clinic and just started working, you know. And Sammy came back off paternity leave, and then Mark just said to me, look, you know, I can still get you some clients here if you want to still keep popping in and stuff. I was like, yeah, all right. And 4.5 years later, still popping in every week and
Wow.
doing clients. So that's how it kind of happened, like, you know.
So how far away is the Creative Scalps from your current location?
So to get there is really shitty for me because I have to go over this thing called the QE2 bridge, and anyone in the UK that knows what the QE2 bridge is, it's just an absolute nightmare. Like, so on a good day, it could take me about an hour. On a bad day, it could take me 2.5, 3. So
Okay. So do
for,
you
for,
go there weekly?
yeah, usually once a week. I haven't been for a little while because I'm actually doing like a trichology course, so it's a little bit intermittent at the moment. But yeah, usually I'm there every week. Yeah,
What kind of course are you doing?
trichology.
What's that?
So that's just basically a hair and scalp expert. So anything to do with like, so really what it was. It started about 3 years ago. I wanted to know why people lose their hair. Like, you know, we're obviously seeing people that come in with hair loss, and I'm like, you know, it's obvious they got hair loss, but I wanted to know why. Like, why is this happening? Like, you know, male pattern baldness, female pattern baldness, or, you know, the different types of alopecia, skin conditions, seborrheic dermatitis, eczema, psoriasis. I wanted to know how to be able to spot that and be able to help people maybe even before they even need SMP. So I enrolled on a trichology course. So, you know, the title would be a trichologist. So I enrolled on that. Yeah, I enrolled on that nearly 3 years ago now. I'm in my 3rd year now. So that's taking up a fair amount of my time at the moment. So, yeah.
And what will you be able to do after I guess you finish this course, aside from be very knowledgeable?
Well, yeah, that was the original plan. So when I first started it, I only wanted to do it for the knowledge. So I was going to just do the foundation course, which was 6 months. So I thought, yeah, you know, just to give myself a little bit more knowledge about like why these people are coming in. And then me being me, like I am, I've had to like carry it on. So I've just gone, right, finished, completed the foundation, passed that, and thought, right, I'm going to do the next stage. Past that, right, I'm going to do the next stage. I thought, you know what, let's just take it all the way and just get the whole thing. So it depends on how far you want to take it. I mean, you can either, you know, just be a consultant. So say you went to your general practitioner and said to, you know, your doctor, look, you know, doctor, I'm losing my hair. What do I do? They could then refer you to a trichologist, and they'll be able to help you in getting a diagnosis of exactly what's going on. And then you could go into like different treatments. There's a ton of different treatments you can do.
Like the PRP?
You could go into PRP, but it's more sort of like you got wet treatments, dry treatments. But, you know, I would be more of a trichologist that specializes in SMP. I don't really, like you say never, but I'm not really going to be looking into getting into other treatments, just more the consultation side of things. And, you know, if we can help them with sort of SMP is kind of what I'm going down, the route I'm going down.
Very interesting. Smart tactic as well. Do you think this is going to open up doors for you to bring in more people?
Maybe. I just think like, I'm going to be careful what I say here, but I just think, you know, for me, like ethically, I just, obviously coming from like a construction background, engineering background, it took me years to get my accolades, right? So I don't know why this industry is any different. So for me, I'm doing everything I can do to pass on my knowledge, or, when my clients say, why is someone going to come to me over someone else? Well, this is why. I haven't got to sell myself. Like, it's all there. And I just think as well, like, it's like, like anyone can sort of get trained up in SMP. It's not regulated that well, but for you to go and do a 3-year course when you don't have to. I didn't have to do this. I could have just carried on doing what I was doing, getting the results I'm getting, and not done this. But I think it takes a different kind of person to actually go, do you know what? I'm going to sit here and do 3 years of this. And it just sat well with me. So I remember speaking to Kate Dawes. You know Kate Dawes from Folly
Yeah.
Sim in
Yep.
Australia. So she's a qualified trichologist, and I'd always watch her, and she would really know the terminology, and she started up an SMP trichology group. And I said to her years ago, and she can vouch for this. I said to her, like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to learn this trichology, and and I did. So that's it.
Good for you, man. I think it's only going to help. It's only going to help you become a better artist. So you're teaming up with Mark. You're traveling back. You go to a shop once a week. Now, do you guys? I mean, you can tell me what you can tell me. If he sets you up with a person, does he? I'm assuming he takes a cut of the money. Then, if you're doing the procedure, he takes a cut. Is that kind of how it works, or do you guys have like a marketing program that you're working with him? What
Yeah.
can
So
you tell
basically,
us?
yeah. So it's just kind of like, everything to do with when I go there is to do create scalp. So they get the bookings, they get the clients. They're their clients, and I'll literally just go there and work. So it's something like I don't have to do it, but I like to do it. Do you know what I mean? Like, I go
Yeah.
there, I enjoy it, chilling with the boys. Like, obviously you got Mark there and Sammy. Now you've also got Ollie Hughes. He's part of the crew now. And then you got another girl, Nicole. I just like going there. They're like my little family. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's always good to have someone in your corner as well. Like,
Yeah.
Mark's always sort of been there for me, and I feel as though, like, a lot of my work and what I do now is probably quite heavily influenced, like, from what I've seen there. So it's not about the money for me again. And this is the thing. It's like, some people just wouldn't do that. They'll be like, all right, well, I'm not doing it, or they'll get to a certain stage and go, oh, I'm not doing it unless I'm getting this, or I'm not doing. I just go there for the kicks, and it's a change of scenery. Like, obviously SMP can be quite a lonely business. Like, obviously you got your clients coming in, you have good conversations with those, but for the most part you're pretty much on your own. So
Agreed.
so it's good to break it up a little bit, So
No, I know
enjoy
exactly
it.
what you mean. I look forward to every time I go up to New York to go to John Jarrell and hang out with those guys. I always look forward to it.
Oh, sweet.
Just getting my touch up, or creating content, whatever we're doing. I do enjoy it. I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah, man.
And it's good to pass the knowledge and see other people's work, because you could be a great artist, but I feel like you can always learn more.
Definitely.
Just looking, observing, and just seeing how different people do it.
I think that's the best way to learn, to be honest. Like,
Yeah,
just going and watching and just taking it in, asking questions. I mean, and I'm never going to be like, when people say things to me, it doesn't really register. Like, I'm always going to be a student. Like, so I can learn something from someone that's been doing this for God knows how many years, done God knows how many treatments. An absolute beast. I could learn something from them, and I could also learn something from someone that's not been doing it so long. I'm not going to be. I haven't got like it's not going to kill my pride to learn something from someone that's newer in the game. Like, if they've got some good information or something cool that I like to see, I'm like, yeah, that's really good. Like,
I love that you said that. I love that you said that because you got to there's a lot of big egos, right? We know that in the
yeah,
SMP industry, definitely some big egos. But if you're always willing to learn, if you're always a student of the game, you're only going to improve.
yeah, it's true. And I don't know, like, I don't know what you've noticed in the industry recently, but there's been a lot of like, I don't know, I don't know, like maybe it's just the way I am as a person, but like to be honest, for me, I cannot stand the forums. You know, like the SMP forums. Like I'm not a
What
big
on Reddit?
guy.
Like
No,
what?
no, no.
What
Like Facebook, like social media. Yeah, well, I mean, I don't go on Reddit. Actually, some of my clients go on Reddit. I don't go on Reddit, but um,
like the
you know, like
Facebook group chat or the
yeah,
Facebook groups,
yeah,
the
yeah,
SMP group? I think a lot
yeah.
of it's just for newer artists trying to learn.
Yeah, but do you know what gets me? It's like I see people on there, some big names as well, right? And an artist will put something on there, and like obviously, like you know, it's hard enough for someone to pluck the courage up to drop it in a group to be attacked by everyone that's in the group, right?
You
So
suck.
yeah, like so, but then people go in, didn't they? Like they're like, oh, this is shit, this is shit. You should have done this, you should have done that, and I'm like, what? If you really, really, really wanted to help the person, why don't you just send them a message privately and go, do you know what? Like, good on you for putting it in the group. I've noticed a couple of things. Why don't you try this? Why don't you try this? Rather than like hanging them out to dry for everyone to see. It's a bit embarrassing, isn't it? So, and I'm not sure if some of them people do that just to boost their own ego or to feed their own like
I'm sure there's some of that.
yeah.
I'm
Do you
sure
know what I
there's some
mean?
of that. Yeah, yeah. I also think the reason that they're posting in there, you got to be prepared. You might get roasted. They
Yeah.
might come at you. They might
Yeah,
call you
yeah.
out. It might make you
Yeah,
not
yeah.
even want to do SMP anymore.
It's true.
But you can also learn some shit. So if you're willing, if you're humble enough to take the advice and apply it, I think you can definitely benefit from it. But you're not wrong. I mean, there's a lot of that going on too.
But it's knowing what's right and wrong, isn't it? Because some
Yeah.
people are just spouting all sorts of nonsense, aren't they, on there? Do you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it's like differentiating, like, all right, this guy's talking shit, or this guy's actually talking a lot of sense. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Are you actually trying to help the person, or are you just trying to make fun of them?
Yeah, true.
um. So I mean, you said you're also signed with Bishop SMP, correct? I see you got their hat
Mm,
on.
yeah, man.
And to my knowledge, do you have scalp micropigmentation? You got pretty
No.
good head of hair, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm okay in that department,
Okay. Now,
But
do you have any issues with people because you don't have SMP? So they come to you, uh, you don't have SMP. Why should I go to you? Have you ever encountered anything like that?
yeah, I haven't, to be honest. But it's funny enough, it has been in the back of my mind a little bit. I used to think like, oh no, like, what do people think? So it's quite funny you brought that up actually, and it did make me feel a bit weird. But then I sort of thought about it, and I thought, well, in order to be like the best heart transplant surgeon in the world, do I have to have a heart attack? Like, no. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, that's very true.
do you know what I mean? Just because I haven't had it done, don't mean I'm not gonna be good at this. Like, and I think sometimes that's the case, and I think that sometimes that's also the case on people that they've had it done and it makes them feel a certain way, but then all of a sudden they think they're going to be a brilliant artist. Again, that's not always the case. Like, it's just you need a lot of things in line to succeed, and just getting SMP is not enough. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, I agree. I agree. I'm
You know?
glad to hear that too. By the way,
Yeah.
that that hasn't stopped you. I want to go more into because you won a bunch of awards. I saw you won 2022 SMP Artist of the Year, 2023 SMP Artist of the Year, right? Um, and what was that for, by the way? Were those what ceremony or thing was that for?
So I don't know which order it is in, but one of them was like so there's obviously like different like organisations, right, that do them. So I think 2022 is the UK PMU Conference Awards. That was Scalp Artists of the Year, so it was like a UK based thing. And I think the 2023 one was the PMU Festival. So yeah,
Okay.
Yeah, I was actually a finalist as well in the Team Micro awards last year as well. So, but
Nice. I mean, you're very talented. So now I want to pick your brain a little bit about SMP. So when you're doing your scalp micropigmentation, how many sessions are you typically doing?
3,
3.
usually
Okay.
3. Yeah, yeah,
Same. Sometimes I do 4.
yeah.
But most of the time I'm doing 3. If I'm doing the whole head, I'm probably going to do 4. Like if I have to recreate behind their ears and neckline, all that, I usually do 4 just to
Yeah,
save time.
yeah. I don't think there's a right or wrong way. Like obviously, some people do it in less. Some people do it in 2 sessions. Like it's not a race, right? It's just it whatever suits you as an artist. Like how you sort of create that density, that texture. If you can do it in 2, then sweet. Like if it takes you 4 or 5, then that's what it takes you. Like it's about the end result, and it's about what it's going to heal like long term. That's the most important part.
I agree. How much time are you doing in between when you do 3 sessions? What are the time frames? You do the first session, then what? A week later, 2 weeks later?
I leave anywhere between a week or 2. Yeah, I try to leave 2 if I can, possibly if I can. And then I leave. What do I leave between the second and third? About 3 to 4 weeks.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. How about you?
Yeah, about the same, pretty much. Sometimes you get guys who want to rush it, but then I just explain, we want your skin to heal, all that
Yeah.
sort of thing. When you're doing the natural hairline, Mark, you said Mark strongly influenced you, and I saw your natural hairlines are really, really good. Are you starting on the first session? Are you starting at the highest point? Like, so you create it. Do you stop? Hey, this is the lowest point I'm going to, and then you complete the whole head. And then next time you do the same area, or do you stop a little bit higher on the forehead, and then the second session you bring it down a little bit more?
So the first session, I generally go to where I'm going to go to, but I leave myself a little bit of room because it depends on the client. So, you get different types of clients. You get some that are just gun ho, ready to go. They're like, yeah, just get it done. Like, whatever you think, will just do it. And, you can be a bit brave with them ones. Obviously, if it's they're a little bit nervous, a bit apprehensive, I tend to start a little bit higher. So once we've picked the point of where I'm going to go to, I'll go to that point. And then every session, I'll kind of just work back a bit from that point, just so it keeps it nice and soft.
Okay. And
Do you
when
get what I mean?
yeah, yep. So you have them facing you. You have the client facing you.
Yeah, in one of them sort of, I think they're like massage chairs or something. Yeah.
And
Do
so
you use
do
that?
you just say again?
Do you use that, or do you use a bed?
I actually use both. So I
Oh
do
yeah,
the back of the head, the massage chair, like you're saying, and then I have the other chair too.
yeah,
Uh, Honestly, because I was getting a lot of people who I use both. Some people are a lot bigger than others, and it just
yeah,
wasn't working on when doing the back of the head. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah, 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 yeah.
Um, so when you're doing the faded hairline, like we were just saying, uh, are you using a different shade pigment the second, third session?
Sometimes I don't. Like, I really like. I kind of like what I call use the force. I don't have like a one way for everyone. Like in a if we sort of talk like ideal scenario, like ideal case, if this guy was going to walk in every time, it's going to be this every time. I would want to start off lighter and go darker every time. But sometimes it doesn't work out like that. Sometimes I go lighter. Do you know what I mean? Sometimes I do go lighter. And do you know what? It's weird. Like, one of my best ever treatments, I've done that,
You're
started
saying you
off
go
dark,
lighter on the second session?
and the third. I've done that as
Okay.
well. Yeah. I've done a first session, gone, oh shit, pushed it here a little bit. Will, do you know what I mean? So I've,
Yeah. Oh, I know.
had to rank it back. But then, do you know what? That's the beauty of doing multiple sessions, and as well without rushing your density, because if you don't rush your density, you can work backwards. But yeah, in an ideal scenario, I want to go darker every time. That's what I'd like to do. But
Are you sticking with the I agree with you as well. Are you sticking with the same size needle each session?
so normally I like to start with an 08, right? Because for
Really?
me, yeah, and that's what I normally start
Even
with.
on
And
someone my skin tone, you would use an
yeah,
08? Hmm.
yeah. But it also depends on what machine I'm using as well, because sometimes the impression size can change, right? I think again, it's just what I've picked up, and but yeah, I just think sometimes like if you start with that base and then you can always crank the needle size down, it just gives it that little bit of texture. You don't have to. You can stick with the same needle all the way through and change the pigment shade, and you know you can play around with it and see what works best for you. But yeah, generally speaking, like if I was to, and I've said this before, probably you'll find it somewhere, but if I was to have one needle for the rest of my life and that was the only needle they made, it would probably be an 08. That's just my go-to.
I get it. I've used the the 0.25. I use it a lot as well. I use
Yeah,
it a lot as well. Um, Definitely on anybody who is darker than me, pretty
yeah,
much. But I've used
yeah.
it on my skin tone too. Especially if it's a density fill, I'll do that as
Hmm.
well. Um, but yeah, I use the point. I use the oh 06 a lot. I'd say is my main one. Oh 06 and the oh 05. Yeah.
I'll use 05. Yeah, I've never used an 05, but sometimes like, again, like, I'll use an 08 and then I might use a 6 at the hairline.
So
If
what's the smallest needle you use then if you say don't really use the oh 05? Do you use oh
uh,
04?
yeah. But again, I could probably count on one hand how many times I've used that, to be honest.
Oh
But
wow.
then I know people that use it all the time.
Because looking at your work, I was thinking, oh, he probably only uses the oh 05. That's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
That means you're doing it really good. You're
Well,
very
this is it.
well.
Like some people, let's be honest, you could make an 08 look like a 10 or a 12, or you could make it look like an 04, depending on how long you hang that needle in there. Because all you're really doing is loading the skin with ink. Right? If I was to just get my machine and just go bzzz, and just hold it there, it's just going to puddle and get bigger and bigger and bigger in it. So
Yep.
you can, everyone's touch, depth, pressure, it's all going to matter to what that impression looks like.
Yeah. No, you're 100% right. I mean, and it's the skill of the artist, right?
Yeah,
You
man.
can, yeah. Um, Let me ask you this on density, Phil. So let's say you get somebody who's in their 30s, 20s or 30s, and their
Mhm.
hair's thinning on top, right? And
Yeah.
they're like, I don't want to shave my head. I want to get a density fill. But in the back of your mind, your hair's going to keep falling out. Unfortunately, your hair's going to keep falling out. But they want to get the density fill. They don't want to cut their hair down during the process. And so obviously you can't, if you don't have a clean canvas, you're not going to be able to get every little spot, every little area. So
Mhm.
then years go by, let's say 5, 7 years. They're like, my hair is continuing to fall out. I'm going to shave my head. When they shave their head, more than likely, it's going to look patchy, right? Do
Yeah.
you set that right expectation up front? Because what I do is I say, look, it's going to end up looking patchy. So if you want to shave your head, I'll shave your head and I'll fill in all those new spots same day. Then you never actually have to deal with that.
Yeah. That's the right thing to say or to do, to be honest. Like, obviously I've learned the hard way,
We all
when it
have.
comes when it comes to that. And it's the best way to learn, isn't it, really? So yeah, if someone wants that done, I'll always explain to them the pros and the cons. As long as you've like said to them, this could happen, or this may happen, or this won't happen, and they're fully armed with every bit of knowledge going forward, and they still don't want to shave their hair, there's not a lot more you can say or do when it comes to that. Because I get it, like some people just do not want to shave it. But in an ideal case scenario, even if they don't want to keep their hair short, I say, look, please let me just cut it short for the treatment, because I can make sure that I'm going to nail it. So if ever you shave your head in the future, you're sweet. Yeah. And then once the treatment's done, just grow it back, and I go for that. Yeah. So
I agree, but you're right. Not everybody is willing to do that, is willing to shave it during the process.
I've actually had a treatment recently that exact thing happened to me. So he had like quite extensive hair loss. I could see even through his long hair, right? It was just sort of combed over. And he was very, very nervous, didn't want to shave it off. And I explained it all to him. I said, look, if you ever do shave it off, it could be a problem. It could be patchy. You may even have to get laser to correct it, or we might have to do multiple sessions to try and blend it out. It's like, well, I get it. I really appreciate you telling me this. I still don't want to shave it. Let's just go for it. I went, all right, cool. So we went for it, got the best we could. And I don't ever, I mean, you see some people do these density fills, right? And I think, all right, great. It looks good on Instagram, yeah, but what does that really look like? Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't do that. I always say to them, look, let's just go for like a 50% improvement. Let's not try and push it. And so that's what I did, right? 3 months later, he phoned me and said, I want to shave it off. And I was like, oh, like, really? Like, do you know what I mean? And he's like, yeah, look, I think I'm ready to shave it off. I went, all right then. I went, do me a favor, don't shave it off yourself. Come in and let me shave it off, and then we'll get your treatment done. Shaved it off. And I was pleasantly surprised because I took that method of not trying to push it too much. It was probably a smidgen darker than what I would have done if he was completely shaved, but it wasn't crazy. I could blend it out. And then we ended up doing another 3 sessions on him to blend it out. And it looks good. And actually, I haven't posted that one yet, and I will do, and I'll let you know when I've done it. So you can go and check it out and see. It'd be more of an educational piece, like, so you can see what it looked like as a density fill. You can see what it looked like when we shaved it down, and then you can see what it looked like after we blended it out. So yeah,
I think it'd make a great, learning video, to be honest, if you're willing to do all that, because I think that's something that a lot of people don't cover, because you can't really cover it too much in your 3-day course. I mean, you can, but you really got to learn through it. You just have to.
Yeah.
It's experience.
Of course. Yeah.
And trust me, we all have done it where you made it really dark because they want it dark. They got a bald spot, and they're like, I want it darker. I don't want to see anything.
Mm-hmm.
You warn them. That's what they want. But then they go and shave their head or do something, and you're like, look, I told you. Hopefully they don't try the old, no, you didn't tell me. That's tell you. I try to write everything on the quotes now, on the actual paper. So I'll write in there, told the client that it will not look right if we don't shave your head. I don't have a clean. Like, I try to explain everything on there to cover my ass.
Yeah.
Sometimes people have selective memory,
Yeah. No, I'm with you, man.
I don't want to argue with people and be like, whatever, dude, I'll fix it. Is what ends up happening.
Yeah, it's a bad one because it's that old saying, isn't it? It's like you got to give the clients what they want, but at the same time, I'm not going to do something I don't feel comfortable with. And after time when I see jobs come in from other clinics, let's just say, I mean, you won't really hear me talking about it too much. I'm quite subtle when I say things like I'm not really. I'm just not a fan of like shooting other people down. I just don't like it. So I'll try and help the person because that's what it's about, right? So, but when I see it come in, I'm like, I don't know. I think the artist might have been pushed here a little bit, like, backed in a corner and like just gone, oh, okay, and done it. And do you know what I mean? Like, not been strong with it and said like, look, mate, I'm not doing this. I'm not the guy for you. Go somewhere else. Like, that's what I would say. Like, I'm not gonna do something I thought was gonna be that bad. Do you know what I mean? Maybe in the early days, because there's 2 things going on. You just want to get your portfolio going. You just want to get clients in the chair, and like, you almost just take anything. But at the same time, you gotta think of the future here, because these guys are going to be walking around potentially for the rest of their lives with this treatment. So
yeah, I mean, this weekend, someone gave me their deposit on Friday. on Saturday, he texted me saying, I don't think I want to do this anymore. And so instead of sitting there arguing with him or trying to convince him to get it, I just gave him back his money, because if someone's mind is not made up that they want to get SMP, even if you do the process and you do a phenomenal job, they could still talk shit. They could still say they don't like it. They could,
Yeah.
it's just going to cause you more headache later. Let them come to the conclusion, I want to get scalp micropigmentation. I'm not like a used car salesman.
Yeah. He just may not have been ready at that time, but in 6 months' time, he might be ready. Do you know what I mean?
Exactly. What was the hardest thing for you to learn as an SMP artist? Like,
What, technique-wise or just general?
yeah, technique.
I don't know, really. That's a good question. I mean, I wouldn't say I'm perfect at any part of it, really. Like, it's all quite a learning curve. Like, it's a tough one, isn't it? I mean, yes, there's so many parts to it. I mean, I was quite lucky, to be honest with you, because, like you say, the 3-day training is probably not enough for a lot of people. But me as a person, where I've just hammered everything, and I'll tell you what helped as well was my missus, obviously, where she does permanent makeup. She's got a lot of experience in the skin, so anything I'm talking about, she understands. So I had quite a lot of support, to be honest, going through it. So, Mark taught me his 5-point hairline system. So I think a lot of people probably struggle with their hairlines, maybe, I'm guessing. But I tell you what I did have a struggle with. Like, sometimes getting one side symmetrical to the other. That was sometimes a struggle of mine. But I then noticed not everyone's head's symmetrical anyway. So it's like, when you're looking at someone.
I've learned that not everybody's head is symmetrical, and sometimes you
Yeah.
got to kind of just use your best judgment when you're doing
Well,
it.
it's like, it's like putting up a square shelf on a wonky wall, right? If you put a square shelf up on a wonky wall, it just ain't going to look right, no matter how square it is. But sometimes you've got to go with the wall.
Yeah.
So a lot of the stuff I do is freehand, but I do have my little markers that are check. So yeah, I'd say maybe that. Yeah.
Okay. And how do you feel about the straight line edge up? Do you do a lot of those?
Not really.
Okay.
We don't do a lot. I think with that it's a cultural thing. I mean, there is definitely room for it, and I'm sort of like I'm doing slightly more of them lately, but I'm still not completely barbershop edged up. They're not like razor sharp. It's still probably what I call like a strong shape, but a soft finish, but not as soft as like a feathered hairline. Do you know what I mean? So the
Yeah.
shape will be strong. It'll be a nice strong shape, but still kind of quite soft at the edges. So I've kind of pushed it to that. I've not really sort of gone to the extreme really, but I mean, I know obviously stateside, like it's quite popular.
It is.
Yeah, which I get it, and like a lot of people like in the UK are like, yeah, you can't do that. How are you going to do that? But listen, like culturally, if that's what people want, as long as it's not like a bodge job, like as in they're blowing the guy's head out, then who am I to say? Like, do you know what I mean? Like, just because I like it a certain way doesn't mean someone else has to like it that way. You know what I mean?
Agreed. I mean, if that's what they want, then that's what you got. You could tell them you could tell them what you think will look better, but at the end of the day, if they're paying you, if that's what their heart's set on, that's what you got to do.
Do you do a lot of them yourself, or do you do sort of more
I
sort of
do
favourite?
them, but I try to talk people out of it every time. But I do
Yeah,
them. I do them at
yeah.
least a couple a month, and I don't like doing it though.
Yeah.
I just don't like it. I don't
Yeah,
like. It's just not my favorite thing. You get more freedom with doing a natural hairline. You get a lot more
yeah,
freedom with a natural hairline.
yeah.
Um, what is there any advice you'd give to up and coming SMP artists, like mistakes to avoid, techniques to practice more that you wish you kind of knew when you first started?
Advice. I mean, again, like you just got to be dedicated to the cause, right? You can't be going in wanting, the end result without having to. having walked the path. You know what I mean? Just walk the path, and like even me, like, I mean, I learn every day. Like, you know, I probably haven't seen everything come through my clinic, and don't be the guy that. I mean, you can be the guy. I'm not telling anyone to do anything, but like, listen, if you're going to get too cocksure of yourself, like, something's going to happen. It's going to fucking humble you, and you just don't want that. So, just be open minded and take everything with a pinch of salt, and practice. And when I say practice, I don't mean like, I personally don't sit there with a bit of paper, like dotting a bit of paper or dotting a bit of skin. I don't do that, but I'm quite active in treatment, so I'm always keeping my hand moving. I would say, like, if your consistency is doing one head a month, make sure you do that one every month. If it's one a week, make sure you do that one a week. If it's one a day, make sure you're doing that one a day. Don't do a treatment, leave it for 3 months, jump back on it, leave it for 2 weeks, jump back on it. You know, you need to just be chipping away at it. Like, consistency will always be the key, like, I think. So yeah, if I could tell anyone anything, it would just be, just stay consistent. And, you know, if you haven't got the clients, then I'll be picking up the skins and the melons and whatever your practice material is, just to keep that hand going, because you need to get that sort of muscle memory locked in. And, you know, it won't happen by not doing. You have to do it, you know. So yeah. And yeah, sorry, I cut you off. Go on.
No, I agree. I agree with what you said. 100% agree with that. You know, just keep practicing. And if you don't have the clients, do the melons, do the skins. 100% agree. Let me ask you this, Will. London, or England, I should say. Do you guys go by England or London or UK? Like, what do you refer to it over there?
Anything you like, mate. Anything you like.
I've only
UK,
been to
London.
Yeah, UK. Okay, because I've been to London, but just the tourist, shit.
Yeah.
There's a lot of really talented artists in the UK, right? So, do you think, um, with the more artists, do you think that's going to decrease the amount of available clients, or do you think there's plenty to go around?
I don't know, really. The more good artists there, the more good artists around is a good thing. I think it's the bad that makes it questionable. Like, again, just sort of my opinion. I don't know. I think the gate to entry needs to be a little bit higher, but not to say, because at the end of the day, I've come from that gate, right? So, but not everyone's going to have my mindset. Some people are going to be wanting to take the shortcut. So I think if the thorough training's done, then they haven't got the option to take the shortcut. They either do it or they don't, sort of thing. So I don't know. I'm a little bit. I don't really pay attention to other people much. Do you know what I mean? So I just
Okay.
concentrate on what I'm doing. So I don't. Maybe
That's good. That's a good thing.
Yeah, because in all honesty, like, if I listen to, and I've seen it in the corner of my eye, and I've sort of tried to tend to, like, brush it off, because if I start looking at stuff side by side, it sort of gives me a little bit of anxiety, and then it does make me question, and I think, oh shit, like, what if this happens? What if that don't happen? So I tend not to try to worry about it, just concentrate on what I'm doing. And for me, like, we've been okay. Like, there's been spots, like business, in it, like ups and downs. Sometimes it's down, sometimes it's up. It's mainly up. So that's a
Good.
positive. That's a win, and we'll just keep that locked in your brain and just keep moving with that. So I think, even to this day, though, like, I still come across people that don't know what this is. So although the rise in artists are going up, I actually think the rise in demand will probably go up as well, because there's going to be people more aware of it. So
I agree, and I hope so too, because we're still
you know what
not,
I mean?
just like you said, we're not mainstream yet.
No,
Not everybody knows what SMP is.
not at all. Not at all. So
I always joke and say we need Joe Rogan or The Rock, some of Jason
yeah,
Statham to get SMP and talk about it.
yeah, that's half the trouble as well, because I get, listen, I get it. Um, not everyone's going to want to talk about it. You know, I've got what you see on my socials and, you know, websites and all the rest of it is probably not even a quarter of the stuff I've done, because obviously you've got to respect people's privacy. Not everyone wants to talk about it, and it's one of them things they want it done, but they, you know, might not necessarily want people to know about it. So to get someone really in the limelight to be able to open up about it would be a special thing. But I've got faith. I think it, you know, I think it will happen. But
Yeah,
we'll
I
see.
hope
We'll
so.
see. Yeah.
What so just real quick, do you think there should be, I've asked quite a few artists this, do you think, because we're talking about the point of entry, there should be like an oversight committee for the SMP industry? And if we were to even have one, let's say maybe each country has their own, or territory or something like that. I mean, how would that even work? What are your
Yeah,
thoughts?
it's a tough one, isn't it? Because like, unless it's the government,
Mhm.
who who's gonna listen, like, or who's gonna, like, you know, really go, right, these are the guys, like, because there's always going to be people say, but why is it you? Like, why? You know, we're going to create our own little clique. You've seen it, haven't you? Like, in the industry, like, people have got these little cliques, and I don't like it, but, you know, oh, that's my little group and this is my little group and we're going to create this, and we don't want to pay attention. It's going to be so difficult to control it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Unless
I
it's like
agree.
unless it's like a government thing, unless it's the government saying it, it's all
And
kind of.
we don't want them coming in.
No, this is it. This is it. So I think it's just a case of like individually as artists, if you can control your own ship and do the right things like ethically, and again, right, I'm not judging anyone. Yeah. So when I say, and make sure you include this, right? I'm not judging anyone. Like, so the people that are doing the mass training courses and doing all that, listen, do what you got to do, right? Just be honest about it, because I'm not going to put food on your table to feed your kids. So who am I to tell you you shouldn't be doing that? You know, you got to do it this way. Like, I'm not. You know, it's just all I know is that how I would go about things. It might not be the same way as other people, but that's just me. So,
No,
do you know what
I
I mean?
understand. Yeah, no, I understand.
You know?
Um, yeah, yeah. I think what you said is right. If you are the artist, take your work more serious, and try to, you know, and try to become the best artist you can really be. Is really all you can, I would say, can really do. And that way we don't need other people coming in and telling us what we can and cannot do.
Yeah, because it's going to be so hard to police, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? My
Yeah,
opinion.
and it's just going to create a lot of problems, to be honest. It's
Yeah,
going to create.
yeah, yeah.
Well, it was great talking to you, Will. What are your socials? How can people find you?
So Instagram is at scalp_nation. Website's the same. YouTube's just at Scalp Nation. My name is Will Quaye, so you can find me at Will Quaye as well. That's about it, man.
Thank you, Will Quay, and stay on.